Hello and welcome to Group Chat. I am Justin Verrier, and sitting in front of me, Rob Mahoney, Kyle Mann. We are assembled here in lovely Los Angeles, California.
Should we put our hands together and we could maybe get Victoria to get some After Effects, sparks go up in the air, or I don't know. Or
it's the least we could do and the Victoria can do. We need a little VFX work to really give us some life, I think is the problem on a regular basis.
Can we get some actual props?
What would you like?
Throw pixie dust in the air or pop rocks or something.
That sounds like a nice lane for you. I think you just uncovered a thing that you could start doing when we're together. Why not?
Kyle, he's been living in this lane. One thing I've learned about Justin, podcasting with him for now several years, this dude is a prop comedian at heart. He yearns for a prop. If we gave him a mallet and a watermelon on this table, he would be a happy boy.
The carrot top of podcasting. I didn't realize.
I just need a beret and a striped shirt, and I can go full Gallagher.
Let's go. I think you have it in you.
So one of the last times I think we were all assembled here in lovely Los Angeles, we were doing those preseason podcasts, Rob and I were. And what was the thing? It was the New York Times love list or something like that?
Questions to fall in love.
Okay, I have a test for you guys, which is, can you pass Justin's "he won't murder you if you get this wrong" test?
Well, historically, no.
You ready for this?
I'm ready to try it.
That's true. So I was at the airport. TSA line was huge, which was odd because TSA is where you're supposed to cut through all the riffraff. But unfortunately, there were two lines you can get into after you got into this one big line. There's a shorter line, but it stopped you from getting to the longer line, right? So two lines you're going through like this. You could either go to the short line here, or there's a longer line here, but you block people here from getting to the longer line. You get that?
I do not get that.
So this is like a TSA logistics issue is what you're describing?
Yes. So basically you could take a right, but you're blocking the people behind you, or you can go straight, but it's a longer path to get to where you're going.
Yes.
You get it now?
So the test is, which one are we supposed to take?
Yes.
You obviously believe that you should take the longer path and suffer, but not inconvenience the people behind you.
Kyle?
I don't know. I was going to say this seems like a candid camera morality test kind of thing that you were secretly being watched or something to see what kind of person you were. I don't know. Maybe I don't know you that well, Justin. I kind of felt like you would have just picked the one that served you and just fuck everybody else. That's kind of what I was thinking.
We need to suffer in order for the good of everyone.
You know him better than me.
We're trying to build a society here, people. Can we just say fuck everybody for minor conveniences?
I think we're well past that, Justin.
Yeah,
what are you
Well, that doesn't even take the inconvenience at this point.
That's more of a reason to do it.
I'm with you. I also know the only thing you want more than to be a prop comedian is 40 days of suffering in the desert. You just have this in you where...
Maybe 20.
Okay.
Just a little bit. 20? Enough suffering that I have some good stories afterward.
I would love that.
Okay. The Ringer NBA show is presented by FanDuel. FanDuel's got it all. Same game parlays, quick bets for jumping in live and your way so you could build the bet that fits your play. Plus, don't miss out on holiday offers and surprises all month long. Download the FanDuel app or head to FanDuel.com/RingerNBA to get started. 21 plus and present in select states or 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Well, today we're not suffering because we're doing one of our favorite dates on the NBA calendar. We're going to talk about some trades or what could happen during trade deadline. December 15th is the annual unofficial opening of trade season. We're going to talk through 6 questions I have on the docket in order to get us primed for that. But first and foremost, we have to talk about last night's action on Saturday. We figured Spurs-Thunder in Vegas, the semifinal matchup of the West for the Cup, would be a bit of a slobber knocker as long as Wemby played. He did indeed play. He didn't play a full allotment of minutes, and yet it was still probably the game of the year thus far.
Oh, yeah. And the best game in Cup history, easily, in terms
You
of...
think so? I guess maybe I haven't respected the Cup enough to know extensively. But yeah, I mean, it was a heck of a game. I can't think of another one to compare with it.
Pacers, maybe, when they were surprising in the Cup a couple years ago.
I think the difference is this felt like a great Cup game and also one with actual implications that transcend the Emirates NBA Cup.
Right. And this is where I think the stage and the Cup atmosphere definitely built this up into something more than it was going to be. Because if this was just a regular season game, it would still be a good game. But it felt like those guys were playing to the stage.
Yeah.
Wemby in particular seems like he just has some understanding of the moment in some of the best, not only players, but guys who like understand their role within the fabric of like the NBA history and narrative, and just seemed like he played into it. He was given like some wild quotes going into the game about Jokic and all this other stuff. And when he was going through the entire game, he was really giving it back to the Thunder. I think they gave it back to him as a result. And so this had practically everything you would want from a game.
At the heart of these two teams, which, you know, we're going to, not to tease it, but we have a lot more to discuss about these two teams and their futures just competing against each other. But I think at the heart of these two teams is a rivalry that goes back a long time. I mean, you know, we saw that, and to speak what you're saying is there is the chippiness, there is the Wemby. Couldn't really tell if he was being totally serious when Cason Wallace tried to swipe at him in the second half, and he flexed his bones, and I was like, okay. Cason was like in the foreground smiling, like, you believe this guy? Yeah. But at the heart of this, though, is that he and Chet have had a long running thing, which is really funny because Chet has, you know, exerted his will as the lanky guy, how impossibly he's doing these skilled things, impossibly he's balanced and skilled, and Wemby is just that and just like expanded. And that goes back to like U19 and FIBA stuff when the USA was playing France in the past. So all that to say, he seems to have like a real nasty chippiness towards the Thunder, like in particular Chet, but I don't know. I mean, he's like barking at Caruso. There was a lot of good stuff.
Anyone who dared try to guard him, like, and I think this is one of the great things, as you were talking about Wemby, Justin, where he does have a sense of the moment. He does have a sense of his place in basketball history. He also is one of the rare international stars that's willing to play the game behind the game. To, you know, even after a game like this, take a perfectly plausibly deniable shot about playing, you know, the Spurs playing ethical hoops. It's like, yes, they do, but also we're all now going to look at the Thunder and have that conversation as a result. Like, he knows how to push and prod just enough where it's not annoying, and it does feel deserving of his station because he is this good, and the league is kind of handing itself over to him in a lot of ways.
Would you consider Party in the USA to be an ethical song to celebrate?
What would be unethical about it?
Oh, I'm just wondering, like, because they
I
apparently
like that song.
Played it in the Spurs locker room after they won.
I think it's the move.
Unethical would probably be, I don't know, like Poison, you know?
Not an unethical bone in Miley's body.
What if they were playing Cherry Pie afterward?
A bunch of 20-year-olds rocking to Cherry Pie. That would be a problem.
I wonder if they even heard that song. No, my wife gets really, really disgusted with me because I genuinely like Party in the USA. But there was a funny thing that happened, though, in the first. Well, the first half was interesting because it was the script of this was like typical Thunder. They're coming out, they're punching. They, in particular, were having a lot of fun with the idea of Luke Cornett retreating and pick and roll, or you know, picking on De'Aaron Fox with, like, they were setting these like really high ball screens, and the moment that Cornett was backpedaling, it was just Thunder chum basically. It was like throwing meat into a shark or piranha tank, whatever you want to call it. But it made me think of, I know I'm on like a run of like thinking of it, reminding me of random things from my past, but it reminded me of this. Did you guys read The Far Side when you were growing up?
Yeah.
I had all the Far Side books. I think my parents intentionally were trying to make me a bizarre person. I don't know why. I mean, like way, way, way too young had them. But there was this one I remember that was set in the Old West, and you see these cowboy sheriff coming out of the front door, and in the background you see these people like screaming because they've been robbed, and the sheriff says, "Well, the bank's been hit again." He said, "No need to worry. We'll just take the big horse." And you see in the side of the frame there's a row of like 4 normal size horses, and then there's this one horse that's so big, it's just like ridiculously big. And that's what I was thinking about when I was watching the Spurs game, where I was like, the Spurs just have a really big horse that they can just. And when he came into the game, you know, he was noping there several possessions in a row where it was like Cason Wallace short roll, looks up. No, not going to do that. Throws it to the corner. There's a good close. Jalen Williams drives to the basket, looks up, not going to do that. Ugly Shea ISO at the top of the key, and he bricks it. It's just amazing what Wemby does, even to a team as good as the Thunder.
There was a possession in the fourth quarter. He was trying to get a steal on kind of like the mid-post, and De'Aaron Fox threw like a pretty ill-advised long post-entry pass. J-Dub sees it coming, fronts it. Any other player, J-Dub picks off and runs. Wemby just like reaches over the top, pokes it back to himself, draws a foul. It's like a totally different kind of big boy than what we usually see.
Right.
But you saw throughout this game, all the ways in which a player like Victor Wembanyama makes the Thunder overreact, something they almost never do to anyone else. There's really just like, I would say 2 guys in the whole league who make them operate this way, and it's Wemby and Jokic. But they have to put 3 bodies on him when a ball is available off the glass. They have to put multiple bodies on him when he's trying to even just like turn around in the post or at the elbow. He really stresses them out in a unique way that, honestly, given where we are in the season, how great the Thunder have been, I think we all needed this. I think we needed, as a basketball-loving collective, a like, if it bleeds, you can kill it moment.
Yes, especially considering the game against the Suns to set up this game where they just wiped the floor with them. And the Thunder, probably no team other than them since the Warriors, like prime KD Warriors, has a team just whipped ass so decisively. And I thought this was going to be another one of those games because of the way that it started. And it seemed like it had that oh no moment, right? Like, we're not going to get the good game that we thought we would. And part of that was because of the minute distribution that they set Wemby up on, to the point where, like, they basically had him as the Jaws shark just waiting in the wings until we got there. He didn't play in the first quarter.
Nope.
And all of a sudden he plays in the second quarter and things just instantly flipped.
Incredible how it flipped.
Oh. It's just like, it almost felt like Miss Johnson had like an understanding of like drama and how to build the tension in this whole story, because as soon as it happened, the game was completely different. And then toward the end, it set up where he was playing as many minutes as he could, and they were able to turn it around and win the game. And so it was kind of, I almost wish that like they do more of that, even though that would take Wemby off the court more.
It was amazing. It was just an amazing game to watch for all the implications, for the actual basketball, for, as you're saying, like the tension of those moments. And if anything, if you want to put like a particular stretch where the Spurs won this thing, they were great in crunch time. They were great basically every minute Wemby was on the floor. The third quarter stretch without Wemby is kind of where they pulled it together. And winning those minutes after how transformative he had been, I just came away incredibly impressed. Like, anytime Fox and Castle have been on the floor together, I really love the combination. Anytime they're on the floor together with Wemby, it looks really special. It looks like it could really tap into something unique and lasting, and something that could expand into everything that the Spurs want to be.
You mentioned them throwing the entry passes and Fox throwing the entry passes. I will say,
yes,
they were freaking out. He converted and tips. Wemby's hand, he has the best hands of anyone his, well, granted, no one is his size, but we've never seen anything like, he just has incredible soft touch and flipping it to himself. But they're going to get him killed if they don't start throwing. Like, there was a stretch where he was falling down. Like, Wemby was duct taping it together somehow and like making things happen. But they're just going to have to figure something out that's a little less chaotic, because he was falling down. And I was just like worried about him, genuinely. But we were talking about the lineup too, that I thought was really interesting was, and I wanted to speak to this about something. I think that a lot has been said about Dylan Harper. Obviously, he deserves it. He's highly lauded, came in number 2 pick, whatever it, gets a lot of credit for that. But there was a sequence in the first half where we were talking about where they were, the Thunder were impenetrable, and Harper came in and got in the paint in a way that no one else on the Spurs could. And he really looked unbothered. And to me, I flagged that where I was like, that is really interesting, because then I don't remember, was it the third quarter where they went with the Fox, Harper, Vassell, Barnes, Wemby?
I believe so.
That lineup seemed to genuinely give the Thunder genuine problems, like in a way that could be a vision of the future.
So this was the first game the entire year with Fox, Castle, Harper, and Wemby all on the floor together, which is wild to think, because it also had like a weird cascading effect where each guy kind of had their moment.
Yeah.
Like Harper gave way to Castle, gave way to Fox, and then Wemby comes in and just takes over. The idea that like they don't even know how to manage these minutes and these lineups and everything just speaks to like how much more there is out there in order to explore that territory.
I'm just getting to a point with Stephon Castle where he's one of my favorite players to watch.
He's great
in the league.
I didn't think he had this leap in him, considering last year he popped, but you would assume that the nuance that he didn't have to his game last year would come to bear here when they're trying to manage the lineups a little bit more.
And yet in these moments, again, for a guy who we were all wondering, is he going to be more of an on-ball presence? Is he going to be more of like a weird, funky combo off guard, cutting and slicing and finding other ways to score? I just feel really comfortable when he has the ball in his hands.
He's kind of both.
He is kind of both, and I think it's the verve, it's the confidence, it's like the buzz of energy that he plays with. And he's one of these guys who's like not too cool for anything. Like he will do all the dirty work, and in doing so, it makes him ironically like pretty fucking cool to watch. Like he carries something with him that not a lot of young guards have.
He's an extremely thundery player, not on the Thunder.
True.
And I think we were talking about how the Heat were getting really stifled in the fact that the Magic had a perfect, I guess this was last week or whatever episode it was, but how they had a perfect answer for them at all the different entry points of their offense. I think the Spurs have some unique personnel advantages that other teams don't have, and I think we saw it throughout that game. Now, Shea does what Shea does, and he gets to his spots, but Castle, Vassell, a couple of those guys really were, and we've talked about when you have Wemby back there, you can really attack some of those Thunder creators with reckless abandon because you know that he's back there.
They went like out of their way to do that. You could see all the time the Thunder were trying to pull Wemby into pick and rolls, and the Spurs were just kind of scramming him out, keeping him in the corner. Stand there, guard Casey Wallace for a minute, Lou Dort for a minute, whatever you have to do to stay on the back line. And I think it's a really smart way to guard the Thunder for a variety of reasons if you can get away with it, in part because you just make them kill time. You just make them kill clock. Like they're trying to find their matchup that they can work to get into the lane, to spray out for threes, to do the normal Thunder offensive stuff. But now they're doing it and they can't move Victor Wembanyama from the paint, basically. I think it's just going to take its toll over the course of a game like this. And the Thunder are going to have all kinds of answers in all sorts of other ways. I'm not worried about OKC. And frankly, I think, this is a good game for all of us. I think it's a good game for them too. Like being the immortal tyrant ruling the league and having to sweat a little bit now and again is ultimately a healthy thing. But I was really impressed with the Spurs game planning in addition to the personnel stuff.
They had to bleed their own blood, finally. But it was nice, because I do think you need some of these setbacks in order to recalibrate. Even Dwayne Wade was saying that, and he was part of the Heat team that went on that magical run with the Heat, not only just for the titles, but for the win streak, and so he would know. I just felt like the Thunder were pretty predictable late in the game. And like as Rob is saying, like we're nitpicking here. The Thunder are amazing, and they could have won that game easily if a couple of Wemby jumpers didn't go in, if he didn't catch the shot that he had to recatch in order to hit that jumper didn't go in. But it's just like, it's going to Shea. And most of the time he will do work. But like when Lou Dort is wide open and can't hit a three, this is the worry that you have in the back of your mind as they're rattling off wins. Are teams going to play them like that? And are those guys, those kind of iffy shooters, are they not going to be there when they need them to?
Oh, they're definitely going to play them like that.
Yeah.
You
don't have any choice. I mean, It's just like, what level of survival are you willing to accept? Yeah.
What's funny about a game like this, though, is like J-Dub and Shea were pretty damn good down the stretch. It's not like the offense fell to pieces.
The last couple possessions.
The last couple possessions it got rocky. But even then, like if you're creating a wide open three for Lou Dort, it's not a bad outcome of a possession.
He's made big shots in the past.
Yeah, but he's also missed a lot of big shots in the past. And so I don't know. The Spurs just seemed a little bit more dangerous. Perhaps that's the unpredictability factor.
Sure.
Perhaps that's just Wemby was meeting a moment. But when Shea had to like double step back into a fadeaway three, it's just like, all right, that's tough. You don't want to go out that way.
But he hits tough shit all the time.
I guess so.
They can put him in position. That was one game. I'd be curious to see like in a sequence of games, or dare I say a series of games, to see what would happen and how they would respond. But also, not to hammer this and just act like the Thunder were just exposed and like it's like they had some pretty amazing moments too defensively down the stretch. I mean, granted, they're a hack and swiping kind of team, and I mean, Caruso, despite Wemby hitting that crazy fadeaway on him, I mean, Caruso had one amazing. His hands and accuracy with his hands are crazy. That block that Dort had on, I rewound that? I don't know, 10 times just to watch, because he timed that perfectly. It was almost like watching like a physics problem. I was like, how did he calculate in his brain when he would be able to get to that ball?
If this
you know what I'm
train
talking
left
about?
this city at 2:00. Like it really is that kind of thing.
Saw the arcs. I was like,
but that's what you have to do against the Spurs now. Like you do really have to work out some pretty advanced physics just to contest what should be like normal basic stuff.
I wasn't surprised that Caruso was the one getting the assignment against Wemby too. Like he's at another huge moment and he looks like one of the best players on the floor, even though his offensive game is just what it is. He's just such an absolute baller, and he's just built for high-level competitive basketball.
All true. And yet him bricking that fast break layup that could have essentially like given the Thunder the lead, if not sealed the game.
But that's what he does too.
I'm just saying, like it's all a give and take,
Yeah. Yes, this would be the concern with the Thunder, but awesome game in Vegas. Better than the first game, which ultimately I think the injuries just stacked up for the Magic, and so we'll get Spurs versus Knicks in the final.
Yeah.
Pretty good final, all things considered.
So do you just start with OG Anunoby on Wemby? a la
Interesting.
Alex Caruso, or do you give any time to Cat guarding Victor Wembanyama?
I don't think so. I don't know. Wemby can go by him. Number one, he can shoot over him. Number two, he can pass over him. It's going to be different than the way that they attack. What I was noticing is when Wemby, any kind of moment where Wemby is dancing, any kind of prolonged, extended dancing with the ball is when the Thunder would bring the help. If he
is the best dancer for his size in NBA history.
I'm just saying, whenever he's smart about like not crossing that line of like dancing for like 2 or 3 seconds, like if he makes a simple move, I'll be curious to see how the Knicks guard him. He's had an interesting history with the Knicks too. You remember they bullied the shit out of him his rookie year, and he came back and punished him. I would assume it's going to be a lot like like if he gets in the corner, they're going to bring the Mikal Bridges OG kind of thing. But getting up under him and kind of making him bend his back, I think is the most effective way to neutralize him at this point, right?
Yes, I think you definitely want to jostle his dribble, and like anytime he puts it on the deck to really crowd him. OG might be one of the best defenders to throw at him, considering his size and strength and like his length at that regard. Like I almost wonder how much they can get away with just putting him on there and then forcing Wemby just to beat him. But it'll be interesting. I hope that Wemby can play a couple more minutes, maybe in the first quarter even.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, ending up at 21 minutes, we clearly would love to see more. But this is the question of like how much does a cup final really, really matter? You know, the Spurs are playing for so much more than this, and at the same time, clearly they're invested in the outcome of challenging the Thunder, and I presume challenging the Knicks too.
Well, how about this? 2 days rest. What a concept that we can get rest getting into these big games.
It is nice.
It seemed like it mattered. I don't know if it was just like the stage or the lights, or perhaps they could just hear Stan Van Gundy all lubricated on the broadcast, because he was definitely feeling it, man. Let me tell you.
Dude, he had me rolling. It was the game before where he was talking about Dylan Harper had not packed enough clothes on a road trip, and then he started talking about clean underwear, and I was like, I wish he could be my grandpa. I don't know if the ages work there really. I don't want to accuse Stan of being too old there, but
he had the alien comment, and then you could tell everyone like the collars got a little too tight, and they're like, "Oh, okay, so how about that free throw?" But yeah, he was really going for it. I thought it was great. Everything was great, and so if we get something similar to that,
yeah,
I think the cup has a little bit more juice than it had yesterday.
Definitely so. We're on that path. We just need another at least tight game. You know, it's not going to necessarily replicate Thunder Spurs, but we can get pretty close, I think, with the Knicks.
I think it could be a pretty good game. I think even more interesting, I think, is the length that the Spurs have to throw at Brunson could be pretty interesting. Guys that could just go balls to the wall and try to irritate him because, the Magic just didn't. Well, honestly, I mean, who do you think even really killed the Magic for the Knicks? I mean, it seemed like OG did a ton of damage. Brunson, they weren't riding Brunson super hard. He was kind of picking his spots.
But you're Jalen Brunson, you pick your spots and you end up with 40. Like that's just kind of the way it goes for him sometimes.
It didn't even feel like it, but yeah.
I also wonder if Wemby will have a little bit of extra juice because, you know, he senses these moments, as we were saying, but like the Knicks being New York, and I don't know. It just feels like he will be up for that task. I do wonder if the collective girth of the Knicks is a new sort of challenge because it's a lot of big boys out there. As opposed to a lot of the Spurs, there's like the long boys, but this is now the chunky boys, or I don't know how we're
ish. I mean, they still got the McHale types, you know. They still have some wiry fellas in there.
Okay.
It's really OG, fellas. Right? I mean, everybody else is wired. Well, Hart's pretty stout, dude.
If Cat's your 4 in those big lineups, Mitchell Robinson's a big old country boy. Drives his trucks. Has some livestock.
Louisiana dude, yeah.
Now I'm getting my wires crossed on which one is the small market middle America team. You know, all of a sudden you're saying that the truck driving New York Knicks, the workman New York Knicks, you know, they're really leaning into the bid with the Timbs and everything. Like
you were on this kick saying that San Antonio was a big market.
It's a gigantic city.
I just don't. Yeah, but not in terms
one
of market size. And I still don't get it.
In terms of market size, it's one of the biggest cities in America.
No, you're saying literal like geography. Like
no, I'm talking population.
Population?
Yeah.
Population. One of the biggest cities in America.
But it's one of the smaller NBA markets in the league.
That's not true.
It's always been true.
It's just not true. Like you have it in your head that this is true, but it's just not.
I must have missed all those stories back in the Duncan Tony Parker era, where
Is
they're
it
like the small market success.
Is it the cosmopolitan factor that's there? Because can you have a lot of people but not be cosmopolitan, and thus you're seen as you see what I'm seeing?
I think it's plenty cosmopolitan.
I think it's well, we used to go by media markets. I don't know what that means anymore. Also, San Antonio has branched off into Austin to the point where it seems like Austin has adopted them almost as their own. They've flirted with Austin and going there. So there's a lot of complications, but historically, San Antonio was one of the smallest markets.
Well, look, for the record, the conversation we were having was about Houston. That was the city we were talking about, not San Antonio. San Antonio's a city of a certain size. Houston is a massive fucking city.
I don't know where we are anymore.
Okay, we're lost.
Why don't we take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk trade deadline. The Ringer NBA show is brought to you by FanDuel. This NBA season on FanDuel, it's all about the boost, because game days mean your chance to boost your bet and make every play pay off. That's right. All customers get a 25% SGP and parlay profit boost. So we're looking at the NBA Cup final, because that's where we are. Spurs, Knicks. Knicks are favored -2.5, but I got to be honest, I kind of like the Knicks in this one. I can't really pinpoint why, if only because I just think that the Knicks just have the combination of veteran leadership, and also they've been there before sort of quality to them. The Spurs maybe don't have. Wemby still on this minute restriction. I don't know. I just feel the Knicks have this one under the bright lights in Vegas. So let's gamble a little bit and go with the Knicks -2.5. And the games never stop. And with FanDuel, you've got more ways to make every win even bigger. So lock in your bets, boost your odds, and make every night count with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 plus and present in select states, or 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. The holidays move fast, and Amazon Prime keeps you in control with fast and free delivery. We've all been there. Family plans are fluid. Somebody's not coming. Suddenly they are coming, and you're excited about it. You want to get them a gift, so you hop on Amazon Prime, line that up with their interests, and it's easy to do because Amazon has everything. Prime's fast shipping is always there for you during the holidays, especially when it's last minute, and it just can't wait. Need that last minute gift or holiday essential? It's on Prime. Head to amazon.com/prime to shop now.
All right, so December 15, important date on the NBA calendar, because that is when most of the players over the offseason can be now packaged into trades. I believe like something 80-90% of players can be traded at this point. There's still a January 15th date for some other players, got extended and whatnot. But by and large, this is seen on the calendar as unofficial start of trade season. That's going to be on Monday. We're recording this on the 14th.
Yeah.
So we've been doing these pods for a while now. I was actually going through the Google Doc archives, and the first one I found was from 2021. And the pod started with, in air quotes, a brief COVID update. And I was like, that's dark.
Do you have a brief COVID update for us today?
I don't know what's going on with COVID these days. Do you have anything from?
I think you should stay on top of it.
Yeah.
It was like Alvin Gentry, 67, just contracted COVID.
Oh yeah, well, especially that year in particular, if I'm remembering correctly, was like the hardship exception. Like so many guys were sick, they were literally like pulling dudes off the street to play.
That was one of the funnier things to ever witness in person. Is that Charks and I actually went to the G League showcase in December, or was it January? But it was right there. But that was when. Do you remember that time when it was the huge spiraling COVID outbreak? And while we're there watching these dudes audition to be in the NBA, they're in real time getting pulled up. So guys are like pulling them out off the court, like, "Hey, we need you to go," and they're like, flying to play. That was a bizarre time, like just absolutely bizarre.
That was a good time to have no social life, because then you might get an NBA 10-day as a result of it.
Yeah.
I miss my time.
Stay home.
Mario
Play some
Chalmers and
Fortnite.
Scotty Hobson getting out there trying to get deals. Yeah.
So we've been doing this for a couple of years now. I love this time of year. Just
Of
seems
course
like
you do.
there's more to unearth, and like let's just mess things up, Like we know where the league is right now. I feel like everyone has a good sense of each other and their team and the roster and what they need and what they don't need. Now it's just like, all right, let's throw some wrenches into the mix. We got Dennis Schroeder, I think, last year going to the Warriors before he ultimately made his way in a
so
weird
funny.
way to the Pistons.
So made an impact for the Pistons too. I mean, in the playoffs. Yeah.
Turned out to be a really important player for them.
And now he's on the Kings.
Yep.
Don't know what's going on there, but
Life comes at you fast.
we might talk about them in a little bit. So I have 6 questions down.
We
here.
will.
I want to start big picture, because there is a lot of talk ESPN has a story up from the other day. I think it was Bontemps and Windhorst, but also we've been talking about this on and off in a different way about whether or not teams are going to chase stars as ardently as they had in the past, considering how important depth is, considering all of the repercussions of all the aprons and whatnot. Rob, do you buy that idea that teams are not going to go after stars as hard or maybe at all because they need to manage those things a little bit more meticulously?
I can't quite get there. And I think some of it is like billionaires still like shiny stuff.
Yeah.
And if a really great player comes available, there's going to be a part of them that wants to just reach out and grab it. And so long as that is true, no apron will fully be able to stop them. I think there are restrictions. I think the market is shifting. I do think there's maybe like a little more aversion to the Kevin Durant style. We're going to give up all of these picks to make this happen. And there's a little more aversion to the we are going to gut our team to make this possible. Like that honestly hasn't happened in a while, period. It's almost like the Carmelo to the Knicks model of team building. Like we're just going to trade all of these guys to the point that we're not even going to be as competitive on the other side in some like roster building senses. It's just that's what's tough. It's like you can't trade for Giannis and then get it together. You got to somehow have it together while trading for Giannis without giving up too much of your team in the process. You can see how the list of suitors can narrow pretty quickly with all that going on.
Yeah, I mean, in your question here, you were saying, asking the simple question if teams are cooling, and I was like, not of their own volition, have been cooled by some of these things, and the handcuffs and the constraints and the Houdini straitjacket, whatever you want to call it, has gotten a lot tighter. But I think Rob's right. I mean, I think the question is just who really is in the position to get their shit together quickly enough to make it worth it. And when you look across the league, I'm just like, there's so many teams that I think to myself, like, it's just not. I feel conservative for a lot of these teams. The only is there one that's like, I know we'll get into this. Is there a team that is not in the position? You know, we joked about the Bulls a couple of years ago where the Bruce Willis and Sixth Sense, that like, are there teams out there that don't realize they're dead and they actually are dead? That I think those culprits are the ones that are more likely to make moves than the teams that are close, because it's so risky.
That's a good point. I do think if you look at the top of the league, is a lot of these teams that are taking over after the big Goliaths with the big threes who got rid of all their picks have kind of faded into the sunset. Now we're talking about the Thunder and the Spurs. Like, do we really need to mess up this finely crafted, we have stars and also guys who could be stars and depth in order to take a risk on like a big swing that might narrow our window versus we could have the next 10 years
right,
and maybe we won't win as many titles and maybe win as many in a row, but we're going to have a runway here to do some damage. And so you're right. I think it's both the apron stuff, but it's also like teams being like, do we need this?
I mean, some of the best teams in the league being young and deep, you're right, is falling into this conversation. Because in theory, a team like the Pistons would be maybe at the forefront of some like the should they trade for a superstar to pair with Cade to build like an incredible contender.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Pistons are just too good for a lot of that, you know?
Fortunately.
And so like some of these teams being so far ahead of the curve in a way that honestly feels sustainable. Like what the Thunder are doing is obviously sustainable. Where the Spurs are, I think in many ways, in a team building sense, is quite sustainable. So yeah, why would you rock that particular boat? If you can have your cake and eat it too with Castle and Harper and Fox, I don't know, like you're having it, you're eating it too. I don't know what the third thing is in this equation.
You're having a lot of cake.
It's a lot, you know, the dessert tray is full. Like why upset it?
Yeah. In the ESPN article, they pointed to both the Suns and the Clippers and their starts as reasons why teams wouldn't do this. The Suns because they get rid of KD and they stop chasing this idea of being star-studded, and all of a sudden they're playing with a spunk and energy that has got them into, at the very least, the play-in mix. The Clippers, on the other hand, have all these older stars. They have struggled, as we all know. Yeah. But I would point to the Suns of last year or 2 years ago as an example of why there are limits to this idea. Because there's always going to be one team or two teams that want to zag against conventional wisdom and see like, oh, well, if everyone is like going away from stars, if we can get a lower price on this guy, let's just go off and do that. It's going to be tougher because the one thing the Suns unearthed was the fact that the second apron is like as terrifying as you think it is. But I still think there's going to be someone or some ones out there that say like, actually, star power wins in this league. Fuck your depth. We only have to get through half of a season. Let's just push this in now and see what happens.
I think there's some truth to that. My question is, are teams still going to be willing to trade like the Suns did for a guy and not the perfect guy, right? It's not like we have a star big and we want to get the star guard to pair with him, or we have a pretty complete team. We see this wing out there who would really bring it all together. That was just like, we have a really good scoring jump shooting ball handler and another decent scoring jump shooting ball handler, and we want to bring in another one just because we can.
Right.
That's very different than I think what some of the, like, for example, the Giannis propositions will be.
Yeah, some of these teams, it seems like that would be most likely if you're trying to like profile like an FBI, like profile someone who would commit this type of crime, which it usually, Howard wrote a really nice article about how it usually turns out to be a flaccid, fart sound, doesn't go anywhere kind of thing. Because number one, a lot of the times the guys that you trade for, you go ahead and you punch your future and you just have these. It can come down to as simple as just human frailty. Like, that Nets situation should have worked. Yeah. I think history always tends to forget that they were just kicking the ever-living shit out of the Bucks in the beginning half of that series. And then, Harden hamstring, Kyrie ankle, boom. We're on the trajectory. We're on the path of that being over completely. But you think about the teams that have these finite, depleting resources of legacy players. I think Durant is somebody who profiles as that, where they get this great deal on Durant. They have this window where maybe they want to go for it. They have some wiggle room with some assets to go do it. The Warriors, I think, were another example of like we have these proven guys that are a system themselves. We have the wiggle room and the culture and the leverage to go get a Butler. I think of teams like that, but I'm like, is it the Lakers? Is it, the Timberwolves are kind of close because they have something that works with their defense. I just don't know. Those are the teams that seem to make the most sense to me for like, they're okay with the idea of like, this is just going to be a short-term gratification, whatever it is we get. Because the top, as we saw, are these teams that are super young, and that long-term is just insurmountable. I think you'd have to be thinking maybe we'll get a glimpse at the sun if we vault ourselves high enough, but we are going right back down to the earth if we do.
And I wonder about the bigger, broader implications if we're saying that nobody's going to go and do this as well. Just because, well, one, like, does it cool just chatter about the league because we've kind of gotten like full circle and then like, oh, we don't want trade rumors to dominate the league because we want people to plug in. But then like nobody was talking about the league for a while. And we're like, well, we want that back. We need to get guys into it so they then go watch the games. And I don't know where we're falling on that now. But I think the other thing is like if we're saying that availability is the best ability, like, is that good for the league? If we're selling that, like, just trudging through a regular season matters so much that you won't go and get rid of your precious depth to trade for Giannis or anybody, really. Is it good for the league that, like, that's not going to happen, that we need that the regular season has become just a slaughterhouse, and to get through 82 games means you're not going to go and get the biggest, most interesting team?
I think it's a fair question. I also don't know how you could look at just the sheer frequency of calf injuries going on and be like, yeah, I want a shallower team. I want a super team 3-star construction, and I feel great about it. Like, it's just everything feels so precarious in terms of just getting through the 82. You're right, it feels like a slaughterhouse. That is what that's where the marketplace is right now, right? That is like the meta game within the league. Is like, how do you build the roster that's deep enough to compete in that very specific way? And then when it matters, you're 8 and 9 deep enough to really blow teams out or at least push them in the playoffs.
Yeah. All right, we're talking about Giannis, so why don't we go to our second question here, which is which realistic suitor, if you were Giannis, would you be trying to force your way to? Giannis, it seems he's out for a little while. I imagine the Bucks will probably keep losing games as a result of that.
Yet another calf injury.
We don't really know where his mind is because obviously the reports about the Knicks stuff over the summer seem to have been just re-emphasized based off of the more recent reporting there. But now it's just like, it seems like he's going to go, but we don't know if it's going to be in the middle of the season or whatnot. But if we're envisioning a world, Kyle, in which he does hit the button, I want to be out by the trade deadline, is there one team you're like, oh, that's the team?
I don't know that there's a team that, when you're watching the Spurs originally are the first place that your mind goes. If you're thinking in terms of, there had been chatter about the Spurs thinking of Wemby as, maybe we don't think about this as like a 15-year thing, or I'd heard some reporting. Is that even true? I mean, do you all, was that intel rock solid?
He doesn't want to go to the
No, that the Spurs have kind of had a mindset of like, maybe this isn't like a 15-year thing we're doing with Wemby. Maybe it is a little more condensed. Or
well, literally, what is a 15-year thing anymore?
Well, like, that's true too.
What can we afford to think that long about in any respect of life?
I think a player of that caliber has not yet forced his way past or tried to get out before the second contract hits. So at the very least, they have that.
Oh, I just mean health-wise. wise. Like they're
Oh,
just
I
like
see.
maybe this thing is finicky. But I don't. You watch them and you're just like I don't know that they need to do that. I would rather keep my depth if I were them. The one that kind of makes sense for me is if he is going to be working in conjunction with the Bucks about getting something back. The Knicks are a horrible candidate for that. I've said that on this show over and over again. I don't know why the Bucks would do that to themselves. The Hawks make a lot of sense, man. I mean, if they could, you could jumpstart. You'd have to kind of figure out how that would work. The like Jalen Giannis, is Porzingis going to be in the deal? I wouldn't go there, but I mean, you could really line up something here if you're saying, okay, we get Trey, we get Dyson Daniels, and then just trying to make the money work. And then the most attractive asset, I think, in the entire landscape is in a really loaded draft, the 2026 draft, that Pelicans pick, man. I mean, if you can get a hold of that, you could jumpstart. You get Trey, you're going to get him on. I mean, consider you're not going to have to. His market hasn't gone to the moon. Like it's cooled. So if you could get that pick and get a swipe at somebody that could reset your whole franchise, I think that could make both worlds happy. And I think the Hawks would be pretty tough. I really do.
I think the Hawks possibility makes the most sense for all the reasons you just described in terms of the return for the Bucks. I would love to see it just in terms of how Giannis would fit in with that team. But if I'm Giannis, I think I would want to go to Miami. Like I think that would be the move. And some of it is just it hasn't always ended well there for the superstars who have come through the Heat. But when you're thinking about your career as something that is like a collaborative stewardship, this franchise does have not control of you, but of who plays with you and of, what the roster looks like and the shape that it takes. I want a front office that is proven they know how to not just like stack a contender, but then make the requisite move after the move after the move after move. And they have the creativity in terms of managing the cap and scouting talent to keep finding guys so that you don't get into a situation where you have to fucking wave and stretch Damian Lillard to get Miles Turner on the team because you're so backed into a corner. It's like, how do you maintain the flexibility and what franchises can you really trust to do that and to help you manage your career? I think the Heat have shown they can be that kind of organization.
Yeah, I wonder where Giannis's head is at in terms of picking his destinations, because I assume once the button gets pushed, he's going to have a lot of say over where he goes. I think the Bucks have almost said this, whether it's been reported or said outright. I think they're going to work with him, just considering the sacrifices he's made over the past couple of years whenever they went out and got somebody good for him. The Knicks thing worries me, though, where it's just like if you look at what they would have to give, you'd have to really kind of just strip mine that team of its essence in order to vault yourself onto it. And so, like, even if it was Brunson and Giannis, like, what's there left? Like, can you keep an OG? Can you keep a McHale? Like, how do you build something sensible from there? I understand, like, it's New York, and he's talked around the idea that, like, he likes the idea of big markets and also international players being around big markets. But I don't know. I'm a little worried that he might not have the best sense of, like, all the market forces that would be in play here. And so I agree with Rob. I think Miami makes a lot of sense. And there's probably enough left over there where you would have a team, and plus Miami unearths all these guys on the fringes and they'd find rotation players. If it's not Miami, I would say Houston makes some sense, if only because there's going to be a lot left over, or at least enough left over in order to make a good team from there. And also, like, they have the identity that I've kind of crafted already for myself and the Bucks, where it's like defense, length, and just like smashing through all the wall sort of stuff. I like that as a fit. But again, do they have enough? Like, I'm going through the Rockets. I'm like, am I going to give up Şengün?
I don't know.
Am I going to give up a
Organizationally,
men?
that's
Yeah.
You don't like it
stinks.
organizationally.
Well, I don't like it organizationally. Yeah, and then I mean, Şengün has been healthy. He's been playing. This has been the best year of his career.
It's been awesome.
He fits with what they do, the personality of what they do. Like, their cohesive personality is just fantastic. If you watch them together, I would be really, really hesitant to do that. Like, and I don't know that the Rockets are in the business of really caring about what message that sends. That would be a big question, but I just don't know that I would go for that. My question with the Heat is, who's in that deal? Because, like, if you're Giannis and you're wanting to go to that team and be, do they demand Hero? Do they is it
I
one?
think Hero would almost have to be in the deal.
Is Bam
Whether
in the
going
deal?
to Milwaukee or
No,
somewhere else.
I think you hold on Bam, but
Yes.
everyone else is in play.
Chloe Ware is probably a chip in that deal. And then then it's like draft compensation, and you're just hoping that the market is dry enough and that Giannis kind of pushes the chips in that particular direction.
If he's pushing his way there specifically, they could get a deal done. But you're right. Like, are they like on the top 5 of your suitors? If like you had a list drawn up in the Bucks, probably not.
I think the thing I wonder with Giannis is he is a player who likes to be pushed and challenged in particular ways. he's also a guy who's kind of his basketball habits. And I think has had a hard time branching out from them, in part because of what the basketball situation has been in Milwaukee. It's like a lot of people want him to set more screens and play in different capacities. Like, well, look at the roster.
Do I have to?
Do you have to? And who are you willing to do it for?
Yeah.
And when I think about the Heat, part of that equation to me is I think Eric Spoelstra is one of the few coaches in the league who has the gravitas to ask Giannis to play a little bit differently. And I think mentally, again, because he is a guy who wants to be challenged, the Heat have that culture of like, you come here and we will make you the best version of the player you can be. But in doing so, we're going to push you further and harder than you've ever been pushed. And there is at least part of Giannis that wants that, it seems like.
See, I think that conversation's more about who's left over on the team who holds that superstar status that might push up against me, because I think he's going to steamroll any coach who's there, and I think he's proven that. But the fact that he didn't really blend as much into Dame as he probably should have in order to make that work, considering he was pretty excited about that move, definitely signaled something to me. And so if I'm looking at teams, I'm like, I want to be the star. If I'm Giannis, I want to be the true blue star. And that's another problem with the Rockets, where it's like,
and the Knicks.
And the Knicks.
I mean, Brunson and Giannis do work, but they're not the cleanest possible fit.
No. A lot of pivots.
And like two guys who really want to get in the paint. And Brunson is a great shooter on top of that, so they could work.
God, the free throws. There would be 50 between the two of them in a game. It would be rough, but it would
Miami,
be awesome to watch.
Miami fits the bill of close. We've talked on and on about how they have kind of played their hand really well in the beginning of the season with Spoelstra, finding a way for them to play that works. Them pivoting to something that has a lot more optionality like Giannis, I mean, they do fit the profile. I mean, Pat Riley has said, I know Bucks fans are very sensitive about how old we say Giannis is. It's just he's closer to the end of his prime than the beginning. I think that's fair. But can we agree on that, Bucks fans?
He's not Kevin Durant to the Suns at this point.
Right.
Well, I'm a little worried just considering how hard he plays, though.
Sure.
Like,
and
his capturing doesn't come out of nowhere. Like, he gets these now multiple times a year.
It is a play style too that doesn't have any kind of a counter that is like KD's been able to last because his technique, and he can butter a lot of his bread going over the top of people and setting up. Giannis, it's a lot of abuse, it's a lot of getting in the lane, it's a lot of pivoting. You do just kind of, I'm not trying to wish his life away here and just wonder when he's going to get old, but I'm just like, you do kind of wonder how that ages, because he's the best driving. You want to call him a 5? I think he's the best driving 5 of all time, or best driving 4 of all time, I would say, other than LeBron, right? I mean, because the best driving big of all time.
Sure.
Will we agree on that?
Let's do it. Sure.
So I just don't think we know really how to gauge how that is going to age, and I think that's always just been a big part of the discussion for me.
I mean, it feeds right back into the first thing we were talking about, is like, if you're trading for Giannis, can you assure that he's going to be on the court for 70 games through his 30s?
Well, no.
And that's why I think teams would be right to be hesitant. I think there's a lot of like apron fear mongering happening, but I think this is like a real like repercussion of guys just not being out here.
Yeah. I mean, look, the availability is what it is. I'm just like not at the point where I'm considering him a substantial injury risk. Yes, he picks up injuries. Yes, there have been seasons he hasn't been able to finish. He's Giannis. Like, overall, what you're getting from him to me completely outweighs the concern about like, will he pick up this or that? Will he be absent 15 games this season? I'm willing to tolerate all of that stuff if it means getting Giannis Antetokounmpo on my team.
Should we start going with you by one name? Like, so just so I can say, he's Robbie, you know?
I'm not Robbie.
Mahone?
No.
Definitely not Robbie. That's not. I mean, look, I'm not a full name type though.
Baloney Mahoney.
I'm not a Josh
I like
Hart.
that one.
You know, there's some guys who it's like you have to say both names in concert.
Kyle Mann.
Kyle Mann is kind of one of these. Honestly.
I was a first last name guy in college. Yeah, you had to
it's
call
just
me.
the way it goes. I mean, how does that make you feel? Do you feel like you're off to the side? Do you feel alienated by being a first and last guy?
I always said I wish I had one of those really musical, pretty names, but I just don't. Where did Giannis rank on the top 100 at this past time?
He tends to stick in the top 5 range. Yeah. I think he's 3 or 4.
I believe so.
I think Luka might be 3 at this point.
That's kind of
Giannis
the conversation with him, is the Luka Giannis. It's Jokic and Shea up top, and then it's Luka and Giannis kind of in those next spots.
Right. Yeah. We're not allowed to look at 1 and 2 at all, or we'll be just sent to the gulag. Number 3 on the list here, related to this. So if Giannis isn't in play,
right,
who's the next guy? Who's like the next star, or just most interesting guy to you guys who would be realistically on the move in this season?
It still has to be Anthony Davis, right? Just in terms of the best player who could conceivably be traded. You know, if you want to just go straight down the Ringer top 100, he's probably the next best guy who might be moved. not the most interesting answer to your point, Justin, but if AD is available, he can change things for a lot of teams. And I think you have to tip your hat to that.
I mean, I just found myself circling this group of players the younger players who have hit these skids of either the trouble like Ja and Memphis has had in terms of on and off court, fitting into what they're trying to do, whatever it is, just trying to pick a direction for them as a franchise. Obviously, Zion, these guys who I think they're interesting. Davis is more of a question of, if you get him, he's going to impact winning directly.
Right.
These are guys of like, okay, this could be a total, makeover for their career, like go another direction. That's kind of the group that I've been kind of circling in terms of the more interesting. But I don't know. Do you think either one of those guys could change, or even a LaMelo Ball could change? Which among those three, LaMelo Ball, Ja, or Zion Williamson, could change teams at this deadline and impact the title conversation? Is that even in play?
I think LaMelo jumps out to me, if only because if you just solve for his injury concerns, then we might be in a different ballpark all of a sudden.
Sure.
Because you could deal with the loosey-goosiness that just comes with the territory, but I'll take the good stuff as long as he's on the court for 70 games. I don't know how you can assure that, but the other guys are a little bit dicier. Zion doesn't play.
Yeah.
And Ja doesn't play enough at this point. And so, like, if we're just stacking them based on availability, like, give me LaMelo.
I'm a full-on LaMelo booster, and even I have to admit the loosey-goosiness has really tested my patience this season. A little too much loose on that goose.
Okay. Yes, I agree.
It's been tough. Like, he just hasn't had the same like comprehensive impact on winning with the Hornets that we've seen in some of his better seasons. In terms of the splits, in terms of the impact on his teammates, in terms of, God forbid, anything resembling shooting efficiency, just like has not really been there for him this year.
Yeah.
I think we would be remiss not to mention that Ja Morant, for the vast majority of his career, has been a 50-win machine. And he is the source of so many problems with the Grizzlies. But in terms of, to your question, Kyle, who actually moves a title race in any way, you put Ja Morant on a run-of-the-mill Eastern Conference team, and they just start winning regular season games if he is healthy and available to play. That, to me, feels more tangible than anything LaMelo has done, and certainly anything that Zion has done.
Here's my question with Ja. Do you have 5 backup point guards in order to soak up all the minutes that he's
even the Grizzlies have shown that's not enough.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I think there is somewhere deep within Ja a team like Miami that can give him structure that might help. But I don't know. I still think LaMelo has another.
He'd be going to play the style he got mad about, so that would be a problem too. Yeah,
that's true. But circling back to AD though,
yeah,
I've kind of talked myself into the idea that they can't trade him, because any team that's going to trade for him is going to sell the Mavs on this version of him that's just like they'll just give him nothing for.
But they just did that with Luka Doncic.
Well,
and they were thrilled about it.
We're working in a more realistic scenario, even if our realistic scenario is fake and that one was actually real.
Oddly true.
But like, if you're the Bulls or any of these teams that can trade for AD at this point, and you're willing to work through the injury stuff and all that, you're not going to give anything up of value. And so if you're the Mavs, you're probably fine just keeping him around, if only because of this far off like fantasy of him playing with Kyrie and Flag. And like, the Mavs have been fine. We talked about him a couple podcasts ago, like, as currently structured with a real point guard in order to set people up. They're fine. They might make a play-in push.
They're right in that mix right now.
Totally fine. You just don't have to do something. And then you deal with the extension concerns over the offseason, because AD is extension eligible, and it seems like he wants that as soon as possible. So I don't know. I just don't see AD going anywhere.
They definitely shouldn't do it just because. Like, trading Anthony Davis because you feel some nebulous push from within yourself that you have to do it is complete trash. Do not do that. The questions for me are, what West team starts slipping in the standings to the point that they get nervous? And then it's not a conversation about, oh, we're trading for this flawed version of Anthony Davis. It's, we need the Anthony Davis who will save our season. We need the Anthony Davis who will put us in the ground where we are not drifting down in a really competitive conference. Or if you want to flip it to the East, it's like, who in the East shows enough that their front office is like, given the opening here, we are one Anthony Davis away from really making a hard push at the Knicks, at the Pistons, at whoever you see as being at the top of the conference. I think there are enough factors in play that could make Anthony Davis feel like even more of a vital asset, given all of the complications in injury history, than just like as compromised goods.
You think the Celtics could make a run at Anthony Davis?
They could.
It's tough to unspool their top three.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
only problem. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to talk Jalen, like, then you can get into some interesting scenarios, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't at this point. He's,
Yeah.
he's all NBA guy this season.
It's money to money, yeah, with him and with Tatum and Brown. But you'd have to. I mean, you could go White Simons. Yeah, I just don't. It's yeah.
Also, AD said some pretty bad things about Boston the last time.
That's true.
Or at
Well,
least
his
his dad
dad,
did.
yeah.
Which I'm sure he wasn't talking to his son at that point,
It's dad's in the media.
If
Complicated business.
If Ainge were there, he wouldn't care. He'd do it.
AD's dad has a long history of saying some wild shit, let me tell you. Well, I think you had the right idea with the East thing, like who's going to sense the opportunity.
Right.
And one thing I wonder is if Lauri Markkanen isn't going to go. And it seems like at this point, the Jazz might be too good. We're at this point of the year where it's like Jazz won too many games. I guess they're fucked and they just have to eat it.
They know how to fix that. They do it every time.
It didn't get good enough last year.
Yeah.
But if they hold on to Lauri and they just say he's too good or we're too good, whatever it might be, I do wonder if teams start calling around about MPJ and noticing that he's like a borderline all-star at this point. And so I have him down here.
So yeah, I want to talk about this exact same conundrum with our
Okay.
next prompt. So can we just segue straight into it if you don't
Sure.
mind?
Yes.
You wanted to talk about which sad sack franchises should take advantage of the demand and sell off their stars.
You're gonna skip the pun there?
The pun you tabbed is misery business at the
Yes.
top, which I appreciate your little nod to me and to Steph, and to Haley Williams. Ms. Biz, as we know it
I
properly.
didn't even know. Is that a reference to a Paramore song?
Kyle, Jesus Christ.
It was mostly a Haley reference. That was
I
for
mean,
her. And
I don't
her,
care.
her alone. I see what you're doing. I see you making the
She's
play.
in the Ringer network, like,
She is part of the
in the
Ringer
constellation
galaxy
of
of stars
yeah.
completely. But yeah, I think
In the same way that I'm great friends with Amy Poehler.
yes,
There you go.
Yeah.
close personal friends with Amy Poehler. If the Giannis market doesn't go as anticipated, those are teams who have all their ducks in a row, who are ready to do something, who in some cases will need to do something, or at least have the strong want to do it. And they're eyeing power forward specifically. And so will they take those same assets, or not exactly, but some combination of them, to the Jazz and say, Lauri Markkanen isn't Giannis, but we need something at the forward different than what we have. And if that doesn't work, then do you go to MPJ, as you're saying, who has been quite good. And I think both those guys, especially Lauri and MPJ, just have such clear utility to winning teams. We've seen it with both of them. We've seen them fill into these slots, and their shooting and their impact and their size be just like such a real factor.
Yeah.
And so with them on the board, I think Utah should absolutely consider it. We've been nudging them in that direction for a long time. I think the Nets, for as well as MPJ has played, should definitely look at trying to flip him even a further step down the line, despite how well he's played.
We've talked a lot about Lowry with the Pistons. What about MPJ with the Pistons? I just thought this in the moment. I mean, you could go Ron Holland, Tobias Harris expiring, and then I don't know. Like, was that what is that? The money's close. You could get there.
Yeah.
Here's what a cool guy I am. On a Saturday night in Los Angeles,
Yeah.
one of the most happening cities, as Rob knows, 'cause he's out in the town just shaking hands and kissing babies. And
I don't think they like that here. I don't
No?
think they want any of that.
Okay. Well, you're doing it anyway. I was thinking to myself, is MPJ, given all of the history, the injury history in particular, like, is he enough of an upgrade over what you have with Tobias Harris that you'd be willing to trade real stuff to get it?
What
He
is
is-
real stuff?
Well, like a Ron Holland or just future draft picks, or like maybe even a Jaden Ivey.
I could stop you right there. In terms of shot making, I mean, it's a significant upgrade in a way. And the Pistons are a team that just keep like recurring for me in this exercise of who's desperate, who's sad, it's just
Yep.
the bleak. We're just going through the bleak and the desperate, the soap opera of the NBA at the bottom. And if you look at them, the Pistons are the team where I'm like, if you look at like really basketball wise, who could stand to do it if they want to be serious? Getting MPJ in there, granted, he's not as dynamic a player but he's had experience playing off the ball with the best off-ball utilizer in the world with Jokic. Cade is would find him. I just think that would be an interesting. If you can't get Lowry, you're getting a guy who's big and is just as good, better, like in terms of a shot maker.
I think that's the difference right there. Lowry probably changes your offense and involves it in a way that's probably more interesting and more dynamic. MPJ is just like the absolute best
Heightened.
version
Yeah.
of what you have with Tobias.
And I think that happens in a couple different ways. Yes, just the shot making for size is elite in the history of the game. Also with that is so good at hitting contested threes in particular. And so, yeah, even though you're not rewiring everything you do offensively, just having the extra like gap of time where he can get a clean shot off of what is a routine pass for Cade Cunningham, that now turns into a great look. And by giving it to MPJ instead of Tobias Harris, that makes it an even greater look. Like, I think there are these trade-offs with the Pistons that still make a lot of sense, especially if you're getting that kind of size back. Where I get nervous with Detroit is we want to trade Tobias and Ron Holland and some other combination of picks for a wing, for someone who doesn't have actual power forward size. I get a little dicey about that given some of the guys they're going to have to battle with in the playoffs. Not really a problem with Lowry, not really a problem with MPJ. I think they're completely worthy candidates even for a great Eastern Conference team.
He's ratcheted up the volume this year. He's at like 9 a game on threes, and the efficiency hasn't slumped at all.
No.
Like in terms of like high volume 3-point shooting, it's Steph, Maxey, Mitchell, and MPJ. So 9 field goal attempts, 39% from three, and arbitrary endpoints. But he's been successful. He does have the green light in Brooklyn in a way that he wouldn't have in Detroit, but he just would cycle back into what he was alongside Jokic. Like, so it works. The one sticking point is just the injuries and long-term success. Did you guys know that MPJ has something called foot drop?
Yeah.
I'd never seen the brace that he wears
It's pretty
before,
intense.
and I saw a photo of it. It's like scary.
Yeah.
And like you think it's because it's more of a back thing, but obviously
He's learned to live with it in a way that's been really surprising.
apparently he's had it for years.
Yeah, I think it was after his back stuff started to clear up. It was all just kind of, and once you just, he had a series of events. I've been really amazed that he's been able, and I know we joked a lot in the offseason. I know I always love making a good MPJ joke about how he inoculates you from stagnant offense and things. But he has been really, really effective. I thinking about this deal, though, I'm like this potential deal. They would want Ivy if they were going to do that. I don't think it would be Holland, right? It'd be like I would want something with some upside play like Ivy, and then I'd want a pick, or give me. We'll take the dead salary and get a pick, and then get a promising player like Ivy potentially. But.
Well, especially if you're talking about the Nets, just like pawning stuff off just to do it, just because the market lends itself to it. You're not going to do it just for Ron Holland and salary filler. It's just not enough.
Which is saying something because they got the juicy future Denver pick, which is probably going to be a post-Jokic pick, plus stuff on top of that. This is the deal that keeps on giving. Do you have a team for this one? The Sad Sack franchise who could take advantage of the demand and sell off a star?
Well, I thought that when you said Sad Sack, you were saying like Sad SAC, like Sacramento, because I mean the saddest team that ever was, folks. I mean the team. Domantas Sabonis is only 29 years old. He feels way older than that, but he's still got some. There's still some tread on those tires.
Being in Sacramento does age a man. It really puts you through it.
Or kill a man. A lot of serial killers from there. If you're just looking at their options, I was looking across the league. I don't know. I was thinking about these teams that have kind of skill on the perimeter that could use a little bit of connectivity. I was like, Phoenix could be interesting if you could get. I was like Jalen and maybe would you trade a first for Sabonis at this point in his life?
If I were Phoenix,
yeah,
no,
yeah. I was just trying to think of a team that had some skill like that could be unlocked. Grizzlies, I was like, maybe.
And also, Edey had been so good before he got hurt.
But like I was telling you all, like Edey at this point, we're just like, I think we're reaching like, I'm starting to get kind of nervous about this because this is like one injury after another directed by Zach Edey at this point.
Very true.
It's tough. But I know Sabonis was somebody that came to mind for me across the league, a team that he's got something to give someone. I guess it's just a matter of what are you willing to give up for him, like you were saying.
I could just never find a fit for him. I guess Chicago, if they really want to just like take him for nothing. But he's got 2 more years on his deal. You would imagine he wants an extension on top of that.
He cannot be allowed to be a Chicago Bull.
I mean,
we just
non-shooter
can't
with
do
Giddey,
We've said
they
that
don't.
enough.
This is what I'm saying.
Those are batteries that are repelling. That doesn't work.
Allow it.
I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up there because I can never find the right fit for him because you're sacrificing so much defensively, as the Kings know way too well, as the Pacers know way too well. And so I just don't know how to fit him into the right front court of a team that has any sort of aspirations for the immediate.
I still think Charlotte makes some sense.
I thought about them.
And some of it is like, again, Sabonis having the half-court facility that then lends itself to LaMelo being up and down and erratic and doing all of the kind of exploratory shit that he does. Like, if Sabonis is holding everything together, I just have more lenience with everything LaMelo wants to explore. And so I think that balance, like, they have a partnership that would be very unconventional, would be quite strange, but I think could also kind of work. It just depends on what would you entice the Kings with to functionally blow up the best thing they have going.
Right. If I'm Charlotte, I don't punt on having rim protection for the next couple of years next to Knipple and my future for the stopgap solution.
But that depends on if you see Ryan Kalkbrenner as like a real, actual multi-year center option. Or
he's a rotation big.
Sure.
It's a big cock.
And he
Jesus Christ.
And he could still be behind Domantas Sabonis as well, or Moussa Diabate, we should say, like also in this mix as well.
Pretty good. Well, since we're talking about centers, we should do mine. I have Jaren Jackson Jr. down here.
Okay.
I'm just wondering more and more if like this is a full scale rebuild at this point. If you are kind of accepting the idea that we've lost our North Star, that Ja will never get back to what he was, at least when he's here, and probably not in totality. Like, where does Jackson fit in there? He's had a very disappointing season, just kind of silently in the background of all the noise of Ja. Now, he was injured going into the season. That might play a factor in it. They did move away from the offense that kind of really seemed to unlock him.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of factors here, and he just seems like a good guy who like wants to be there. They just like renegotiated and extended him last season. At the same time, like, can we get a barrel of stuff if we just kind of move on for this guy now? Because I think he would have a lot of suitors. We talked about the Spurs, for instance. Like, if you can pay less for a center next to Giannis, like, does Jaren Wemby make some sense in a different way?
It feels kind of duplicative, though.
Okay. That doesn't tug on the heartstrings that you can go back to where his dad played?
I mean,
that doesn't factor in your trade analysis?
Maybe it should. Maybe I'm being too cold about it. But yeah, I think the idea of like who you want with Wemby is not necessarily a Jaren Jackson type.
Okay. But what about in general? You guys open to the idea of moving Jaren?
Certainly.
If you get the right idea.
Why would you look at the Grizzlies and feel like, oh, anything happening here
we can't break this
is
up.
inarguable? No, it's beyond the pale to even talk about trading Jaren Jackson
But
Jr.
that's the difference from what we were saying in the offseason, where it's like, oh, this might be just a half measure, the Bane trade. In order to get to what might come later, they could just retool, not rebuild.
Well, I think Ja detonated the half measure.
I guess so.
When I mentioned that, I think I mentioned it even in a passing when we were listing off the potential fits with Queen. That really intrigued me. And it's just kind of a question of
trade more picks.
Well,
if you're in New Orleans,
what could you get? Yeah, I mean, they've got some. It's just what are you after if you're the Grizzlies? Are you after future for Lane, or is somebody, because they do have a couple wings here? I mean, I'm just trying to think of.
I'm open to anything if I'm Memphis at this point. Just give me the carrot, like the one blue chip asset.
And I think you're trying to just punt everything down the line. You're just trying to stretch out your time horizon, get as much young talent or picks as you can, because otherwise there's not going to be a quick pivot off a Jaren Jackson trade, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you're looking at New Orleans owns their own firsts through 28 through 31. I mean, you could go after that, but you'd have to be naive if you were the Pelicans and think you're closer than you are.
Yeah, I just think there's an opportunity to be a seller here. And if Memphis, which tends to be a little bit more forward-looking than a lot of organizations, less precious about certain things, I could see it. Why don't we go to our next question? Number 5, team that needs to make a deal the most. I have Detroit actually down here. So we talked about them already, so we don't need to belabor it. But like, Tatum's coming back next year, or maybe this year. We'll see. And right now, the only team that scares me in the East is the Knicks, and I think they're beatable. This is not like some Goliath that you can't push through. We have to hold on. If I find a deal, if I'm Detroit, that keeps me on the same timeline, doesn't like limit my window, I'm doing it because there's a real opportunity.
But even there, you just didn't. If I find a deal, we're talking about who like needs to make a trade. Do the Detroit Pistons need to make a trade? If they did nothing between today and the deadline, they're still one of the best teams in the East and might win the Eastern Conference.
I guess it depends on how much emphasis you put on need. If it's
a lot,
if they need, but if it's a need,
I think it's, I don't know. Do you need to do it? I don't know.
Well, I mean, let's imagine even like taking a step backwards and saying like they do win a deal like a Lowry or an MPJ type of thing, where like realistically, if we like imagine what that would be in a playoff series, would they beat the Knicks? I mean, I felt like the additional ball handling, we mentioned Schroeder last year. I was like, I feel like that was one of the things too that really helped them get over the hump in that. And then I'm just trying to think or be really, really competitive in that series.
Yeah, if you deal Ivy, like you're counting on some of the backup guys, the Jenkins, the Sassers, in order to be rotation guys.
And that's tough. I'm just like, I don't know that they're going to quite get there as much as I love the idea.
Yeah.
But I do. It just depends on how pressed you're feeling in this situation where the East has been such a mess. I want them to make a move.
Yeah.
It
might be more want than need.
Yeah, I'm just. Yeah, I think if they're going to be, it just be close. I think at best, if you're the Pistons and you're thinking about this year, like you were talking about Tatum coming back.
I mean, one piece of this that's like not insignificant, but probably doesn't. It should not govern the Pistons' thinking. If you are giving up ball handlers, it's not just Jenkins and Sasser. Karis LeVert has quietly been like quite good. And I don't know how I feel about Karis LeVert being quite good in November, December, being the governing principle that will lead me to trade away other ball handlers and hope that he is in May and June. But I think he has at least come onto the radar as a more significant piece of that team than certainly I expected coming in, and I think he deserves some recognition for that.
I think the bigger thing is their bench had a defensive possession against the Hawks the other day. I don't know if you guys seen this highlight where they forced a turnover, shot clock violation, and like everyone in the arena fucking loved it. The bench loved it.
Yeah.
The crowd loved it. And that's a crowd that hasn't had a lot to cheer for a while. Like, and I was like, God damn, do we really want to disrupt the good vibes here? That's the one thing. It seems like they have something collectively, an identity, a spirit that I don't know if you'd want to mess with. But
how do we? Here's what any team should do. If you want to cultivate that kind of defensive identity, but you can't get the real deal Detroit Pistons organic juice, let's do the Chick-fil-A sandwich giveaway for 24-second violations. Like, don't make it free throws. Don't make it a random game of chance. Like, this is a real thing. And as it gets closer to 0, that place is going to set on fire for chicken.
I love it.
You know what? We do what we got to do. If we need to put our finger on like the lever a little bit and just pull it ever so slightly to get the energy in the building, I think you should do it.
Let's get those dancing cows out there immediately.
Come on.
Who do you have for this one? Team that needs to make a deal the most.
I had the Pistons. I have. I mean, the Wolves are a team that I think I was alluding to this earlier, that you have this defense that is solid that you can lean on, and it's the Dillingham experiment. I mean, he was out there the other night and looked okay, as much as it hurts me to say. And then Conley's not up to the challenge. They're a team that I would be looking at to. Because it does kind of feel like they're still kind of in the conversation. I mean, if we're talking about in a playoff series, if they could get a steady ball handler, I mean, they invested a lot in this Gobert thing. So I think if you're talking about who needs to do something, I mean, in that sense, they do. So, yeah, they're a team, and, Randall's not getting any younger. I think you've got this thing that is moving forward that if you could bolster it, I think you've got a shot,
I'm surprised Dillingham played when you watched. What an absolute just catastrophe. Is it that bad at this point?
It's been pretty bad.
I have him listed down. So our next question is the buy low guys.
Mm-hmm.
I have him listed down there, if only because I want him to go somewhere else where he can play minutes. Because I just don't get it. I don't see how a team that's built around defense can force his size into what they do in order for him to play through some of his mistakes.
Well, it'd be easier if the offense were better. Like if it were just an offense
that's been
defense
the most
trade-off.
That's been the most shocking thing for me is that he offensively was just so good at every other level of play, and it just hasn't translated. He looks like a shot maker, but not a pure shooter a lot of times, and he's somebody that wants to score, and he's not a pure facilitator. So you end up with this kind of wishy-washy thing that also can't play defense, and that just doesn't work for them. Like he's not a steady metronome player like a younger Mike Conley might be. Older Mike Conley's just not prepared to do it at the volume that they need him to do it. So I do think that if they're going to capitalize on this window, they're going to have to figure something out, and Dillingham might be a part of it.
Yeah. Who do you have for a team that needs to make the deal?
The Cleveland Cavaliers. All those same reasons you kind of laid out, Justin, in terms of the East being up for grabs and the ticking clock here. I think the difference between them and the Pistons is everything feels bad with the Cavs all the time. Like the record is okay, but ultimately, like the look and feel of the team is not great. Everything, when you watch them play, everything feels like it's going uphill. And they've lost, to me, so much of the connectivity that made them so good last season. And they've had guys in and out of the lineup. I don't want to just gloss over that. That's a real thing in terms of affecting the dynamics and the flow of the team and the offense specifically. But in particular, I would say the Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell combination has looked untenable defensively. And especially when only one big has been out there with Jared Allen out of the mix, just doesn't look like a group that can work together and that has the balance that you would need to really compete, much less contend in the Eastern Conference.
They're lost at sea. I don't know what happened over the past year. Maybe just like hitting your head in the playoffs too many times, just like completely threw them. I don't know how do you unspool that would be my counter there, where it's like it seems like they need a wholesale change in order to like re-energize what they lost.
But that's the kind of trade I think we're talking about is like real significant stuff.
Yeah.
Whether Garland or Allen or both or something. It's to the point where they even just turned up Jalen Tyson, who's been a good rotation player for them, and it means nothing. It has made no difference, despite the fact that he's a good player having a nice season.
Yeah. I don't know how you take a step back though, Kyle, because if it's, let's say you just prioritize Mitchell and Mobley and just figure out the rest, like is Mitchell going to be along for the ride of figuring this thing out?
3 years, 46.3. Yeah, and he's going to be turning 30 next year. I'm just kind of they do kind of feel under the gun here. If you're gonna bet on Mitchell, it does kind of make it seem like an immediate thing is going to be the way to go.
He is so good. Like
he's been great.
He's incredible.
Again, it's like it's all tough for him because of the circumstances, but that dude can put up damn near 50. Like there just aren't enough guys in the league doing that to the point where I would feel very reluctant to part with him.
You'd like to see it easier for him, but he has shown time and time again that that's the way he wants to play. He wants to play spread pick and roll, and he wants to. And it's I don't know. Are you going to get because we're sitting here looking at him and Garland together, and you're like, this makes sense. You could see on paper. I feel like I've been wringing my hands for the past few years about this, like why it doesn't work together. The two of them. Moving in split action together, moving in just whatever it is, and it just never has quite gotten there. I was trying to. The Garland thing is hard too because of how much money he makes. It's like how I was like, well, Timberwolves maybe, but you can't.
Yeah,
there's no way that you can make that work because he makes too much money.
Thank God he's had some okay games lately because Darius Garland has had, I would say, a disastrous season coming back from injury and like trying to find his footing again. Rob Dillingham levels of efficiency from a guy who has been. Like is a really great playmaker and is one of the league's best shooters despite what he has shown us lately.
Yeah, and the one excuse coming out of last postseason was, well, they didn't have Garland to set everybody up in that postseason matchup with the Pacers, but now he's back, and I think they run out of excuses at this
35% from the field, 27% from three for Darius Garland this season, and the signs of life are nice. I just don't know that I'm like ready to believe them until he can be that for weeks on end, which is exactly what the Cavs need right now.
Are we overreacting though a little bit though?
To which part?
Well, just I mean, it's like
the entire podcast.
Jared Allen, Sam Merrill, Max Strus. Those add a lot of kind of gravitational rhythm to your offense, which the absence of which would just fall onto hard mode Donovan Mitchell.
Yes.
Drummer extraordinaire. It's hard for him to get into a rhythm if those pieces aren't there. I don't know. I'm just kind of like, is there a pinch of wait and see that needs to go in the stew a little bit?
Aren't the Cavs like they've been riding on wait and see for 3 years, just kind of waiting for this thing to coalesce? And I think it has to a degree. We've seen it. We've also seen them cap out with that more or less that formula. Yeah. I think if Mitchell and Garland were playing better together with one big, and Mobley has had to fill that role a lot recently, I would feel like, okay, there's something here. They have that flexibility. They're going to work Allen back, and the team is going to kind of find its equilibrium. But they can't really work that way. Like those lineups are a disaster defensively, like with the two guards on the floor together with one big. You put Mobley out there, we've seen the way that can be kind of stodgy offensively, especially in the playoffs, even with the rhythm that they had last season. So I just don't believe in what they're doing. And I watch them play. I'm like, I don't think these guys believe in what they're doing.
It was a bad harbinger when Allen had a finger injury and decided to play through it, but then he had a finger injury on the other hand. It's just like, how bad can this get? All right, let's go to our last question here. Number 6, the buy low player you're eyeing who could use a change of scenery. You're a buy low guy.
I try to
You like to get a bargain.
I'm working the market, you know?
You like a little TJ Maxx?
Yeah.
Zach Lowe besmirching TJ Maxx really upset me.
What did he say?
He said crap for sale. That's what he called TJ Maxx.
Wow. Well, the Sean Kemp jersey I picked up as a 4th grader says otherwise,
He struck me as a Maxinista, though. That's surprising.
Maybe he's more of a Ross guy.
Ooh.
I immediately hit him up and was like, how dare you? I don't know. You got to go through, you thumb through the racks. You see what's in there. That's the whole point, man.
That's true.
Come on, man.
It's a journey.
But yeah, I'm trying to buy low. I'm trying to maximize shareholder value every chance I get.
That's what life's all about, baby. Yeah. Who do you have for this one?
I don't know what this says about me, but I still want to believe that Zach LaVine can be a good player on a good team somewhere.
I'm the Walter White meme hitting the car window. Nah!
He's such a great shooter. He's great in movement. I'm just like waiting for the chance for everyone to see it in a way that makes sense for somebody. The problem is he gets paid a fuck ton of money in a way that's really hard to justify the gamble of doing it. He's also at a weird place where the teams that you would think could most use him, which would be good defensive teams that need the scoring and the spacing, a lot of those teams are the teams we were talking about earlier, teams like the Thunder and the Spurs, or teams that are just like really spoken for at shooting guard and don't necessarily need a Zach LaVine in their lives. So I don't even know how you engineer a trade that gets to my dream, but I still hold the dream, and I'm going to continue to.
If Derek White is the plus minus god, is Zach LaVine like the plus minus just devil, I guess?
Satan.
Satan.
Yeah, I think he's been besmirched.
Oh.
I think you You got to dig through the noise for that delicate little flicker of a signal in there.
Yeah.
He's kind of the Lord of Light. He's cruel and indifferent at times, and you're like, what is going? I don't, there's no like watching over you. He's just a chaos agent doing whatever he wants to do. People may die. You know.
They have.
Listen, it looks great when he's out there. The shot is gorgeous when he has his legs underneath him.
Absolutely.
Like he makes $47.4 million.
Yeah.
How are you gonna?
Therein lies the problem.
I will say this: there's only one more year left, and that would be the upside. So if you're like Dallas or someone who can stuff that into your books and just get off another contract, I think they would be one of those dances.
This is why it's probably not going to happen this year.
Yes. But since you mentioned Levine, I also have a king down here, but also with contractual issues. I have Malik Monk, who played 9 minutes against the Pacers the other night.
What's going on with that?
I don't understand.
They just don't like playing guys, and in particular, they're good, productive players, because Monk does something very well, and he has done that for Kings past, and I can't see why he can't do that again.
I don't get it. And
trading him, unfortunately, is a little difficult because he has 2 more years in the 20s still on his contract. And as we've seen, teams are there's no country for small scoring guards anymore, especially young guys who make a lot of money. And so he's the exact type of player that I think teams are shying away from. But I want to see good things for him because he could galvanize a bench unit like few others in the league.
I think the pace and space movement, I've thought a lot about this, where the pace and space movement really shot to the moon. And we had that moment where, before the defense, the defensive officiating shifted back, where it really served players like Malik Monk that kind of could get out and move around. Don't touch them. They're just like the wispy lather kind of scorers kind of thing. And I really feel like the shift the other way has hurt. I haven't studied this scientifically, but I feel like it's hurt players like Malik Monk, where it's like he's not super. I'm just trying to. Is there a team out there? I was thinking, if you're the Rockets, could you go get Malik Monk in a cheap way, but you'd be adding defensive? It'd probably be like a second unit kind of a play, right? Just to add a little bit of a punch, because you couldn't play him with your first unit a ton. Thinking of the Wolves again, probably not the Pistons, but we're talking about teams that are close and not necessarily somebody just off the radar that would make that move, desperate for a reason unforeseen.
Yes. Yeah. I just find it very generous of you to prescribe that much meaning and philosophy to whatever it is that Doug Christie is doing on a daily basis. I just have no idea what is governing the rotation decisions for the Kings in general. Who plays and who doesn't. Keon Ellis is in the doghouse. No, he's back. Now Malik Monk is in the doghouse. That space needs to be occupied by somebody clearly at all times. And I don't know why one guy is in favor and one guy is not.
I think he just prioritizes being a grinder way too much because I
think Keon Ellis would be playing 40 minutes.
I know it's true. But this is the problem with certain coaches, though. I do feel like they want the rest of their team to take on their identity when they played. And oftentimes that's not what you want your best, most skilled players to have.
That's true.
Do you have anyone for this one?
Talk about a fucking vibe shift for the Kings. It's just unbelievable, man. God, in just such a short time, he was a part of something that was working. I was looking at just some young guys. It's been kind of fun. This was never my guy. This was never my dude. I never was really a huge fan of Jarris Walker, but somebody out there that sees him and think, because I'll hear people talk about him and they'll be like, there it is. I knew the whole time. I think that, which gives me an idea that in that sample size, there are believers out there that might take a swing on him. Obviously, Kuminga, there are ball knowers, real hooper people out there.
Sure.
It's always real hooper people who think Kuminga is not showing something. That evil Steve Kerr is just punishing him for no reason. Kobe White's another one, I think. I feel like Kobe White, when he came back, I just feel like the tilt in his game didn't really serve them. I'm not saying he's responsible for why the Bulls went on a slide, but he's somebody that I think in a new home could kind of find a new lease on life.
I mean, I am one of the aforementioned Jarris Walker guys. I think.
Shit! Did you want to assault me right now? Go ahead.
Look, it's inarguable at this point. It just has not worked. I just think we all have our Pat Williamses. We all have these holes that we fall
similar
into.
Players.
And for whatever reason, I could not get on board with Pat Williams, but I see Jarris Walker. I'm like, you know what?
Look at that body. Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of how much patience you want to, how patient you want to be at the process of those guys coming along. I've been very patient with Jarris Walker. He's gotten lots of opportunity at this point to prove that he's a good NBA player.
We're still talking about Jarris Walker.
Well, if we're buying low,
Yeah. No, I'm not buying at all.
No, you're out.
I was never in. I think you were one of the few. Yeah. I saw the fact that they weren't able to play him gave him some credence to the idea that there's something untapped here. But now that he's playing, ain't much.
Yeah. Not a lot of mystery in Jarris
What about Kobe
Walker's
White,
game.
though?
Kobe White is good.
Yeah.
It is funny. I do wonder if you can convince the Bulls that they're blaming him for all of their malaise right now, when this was, I think, predicted by all of us. But since he came back, it does feel like things have time to. They just can't figure it out now. I think
all of us, huh?
most of us.
Are you inclusive
No,
in this? Us?
I believe.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
All right. This is a little rich. A little rich of an all of us declaration coming from you.
I just want to have fun, you know? And
I believe it.
And the Bulls are my type of fun.
For the people not watching on video, Justin just looked at the standings to see how far the Bulls had plummeted. It was like, you know what?
Just to
what
be
do I have
clear,
to cling to
Just
here?
to be clear, we started the podcast with Justin describing a miserable TSA situation that he would choose,
Yeah.
and then says, "I just want to have fun," and talked about the Bulls.
The Bulls do it the hard way.
Just saying.
They
that is for
certainly
sure.
do. Yeah,
But no, I could see White. White needs a new home.
he's good. He's a good player.
I think we would have said he might be their best player going into this season.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Really?
like their best all around. I think it
Really?
depends- as
Would you
oppo-
say, Giddy?
Giddy, yeah.
Well, this is the thing. When you make Josh Giddey your best player, you put in all the restrictions that come with playing Josh Giddey basketball. Kobe White can kind of play.
They played
anything,
fine together last year.
Yeah.
At the end of last year.
and yet, and yet,
Touche. But no, that's a good one. I think for a team that just needs juice, and I think he's an expiring contract right now, and so you'd have to pay him. That's
Yeah.
the problem with all of this. Goddamn aprons. Too many aprons.
Why do we have to pay these guys? I
I
just
know.
don't understand.
I know. Can't they just do this for the love of the game?
I know
Like us?
we don't get paid.
Yeah, I'm not being paid.
No.
All right. Why don't we wrap it there? We'll be back Wednesday and Thursday.
What's going on there?
A little double dip action. We're going to do we won't give it away just yet. You'll see it on Wednesday, but there's going to be a 2-parter, big old thing where we're going to talk about every team in the NBA, all 30 teams, including the Chicago Bulls, for longer than you expect, but it'll be nice. We're going to do that. We're going to talk about Cut Final on Wednesday. Anything else? Maybe whatever you're doing in LA.
I think that's enough.
You going to Bob's in order to get some new costume work, or
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't. What's Bob's? What?
Bob's is a part of my life. It's a good feeling on a Saturday night. Bob's is like a discount clothing store. You guys didn't have that?
No,
Okay.
Oh no.
I'm not in the streets like you are.
Thank you to Victoria Valencia. Thank you to Isaiah Blakely. Thank you to Ben Cruz. We'll be back Wednesday and Thursday. We'll talk to you then. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.